Today, let's talk about the silent killers when looking for a home in Flower Mound. I'm going to tell you, everyone looks at the price tag of a home in Flower Mound and thinks, okay, I can afford the mortgage, but nobody warns you about the silent budget killer that comes after closing. And this is something that your realtor needs to help you with, and so does your title company. My name is Chris Hooper, Chris Hooper Realty. If you're thinking about moving to Flower Mound, I have a relocation guide down below that you can click on a link and get a free relocation guide. But let's get into it. If you're moving here from out of state or just even from Dallas, the cost of Flower Mound may have a few surprises that could actually wreck your monthly budget if you're tight and if you're not ready for them. I want to break down some of the real cost of living in Flower Mound, including some maybe specific tax numbers you need to know for 2026. Let's rip the Band-Aid off with the whole property tax thing. So that seems to be the biggest shock to everybody, to every relocation client I've ever worked with, moving to Texas in general, is the property taxes. But what you have to understand is that we don't have a state income tax. So, down there in Austin, the governor needs to figure out how we're going to pay for stuff. And this is one of the main ways that they get it done. This is the reality. The total effective tax burden here is about 1.44% of your home's value. So if you have a home that's, say, $575,000 in Flower Mound, you're probably looking at a bill of $7,700 to $8,000, more or less. Put the brakes on, though. We do have what's called a homestead exemption, and that will reduce your effective tax rate. And I'm not going to get into specific numbers. If you have disabilities, you might be eligible for other tax breaks. And if you are over 65, especially if both spouses are over 65, and this is your primary home, you get another tax break on that deal. So those numbers, broad, okay? The best way for you to go is to go into Denton County, and they have a calculator, the Denton County property tax. They have a calculator. You can put in your home's value. Don't put in the price. Don't ever tell them how much you paid for it. But you can put in just a rough estimate of what you think they'll tax you on. So just for round figures, just say, okay, they're probably going to tax me on $500,000 or $550,000. You can put in that into the calculator. If you have homestead exemption, if you have over 65, whatever, hit the calculate, that'll give you a rough ballpark. They're not committing you to address or your name. But here's some better news. In 2025, Flower Mound actually reduced their tax rate. So now we have an additional 20% homestead exemption. So same price point that we're talking about, $575. So that means is if you're living in the home, that has to be your primary residence, you get a discount on the taxable value. And a lot of the online tax deals don't factor that in because this is new, right? That's an additional amount. What does that mean? It could probably be about an additional $350 per year. I'm fine with somebody giving me an extra $350 a year. Okay, so taxes are a big deal, right? They happen once a year. We always pay our taxes in arrears. Today is January 2nd, 2026. So we are paying taxes for 2025. So let's say you bought a house in July or August, and you've moved out here to the lovely town of Flower Mound, your best decision ever, and the seller was responsible for the taxes from January 1 till, let's say, July 1 when you bought the house. Then from July 1 or July 2, whatever it is, until December 31st, you're responsible for those taxes. Okay, so you're going to get a credit. You should have gotten a credit on your closing statement, and then you pay the difference. So, does that make sense? Okay. You can ask me any questions, put it in the comments, but we do pay our taxes in arrears here in the great state of Texas. So that's one cost. But here's another thing. Flower Mound is known for its master plan communities. They're everywhere. And beauty does come with the price. Unlike many older towns, let's say Dallas or Fort Worth or some of these other towns, even Plano, parts of Plano, unlike a lot of these older towns where HOAs are like $20 a month, $400 a year or something like that, you're going to see fees ranging anywhere from $500 on the low end to I've seen them as high as $5,000 or $6,000 a year in other places like Bella Lago or Point Noble or Tour 18 or some of these other ones. That might be kind of on the extreme end, but I live in Bridlewood. It's a master plan golf community. Our HOAs are $1,100. But here's what you're paying for. These master plan communities, you're paying to keep the trails clean because there's a lot of trails. You're paying for the community pools. You're paying for the perfectly manicured landscaping. Wellington, just south of here in Bridlewood, is a huge community. And they've got a great amenity center, lots of tennis courts, and all that comes at a price. But it's still, you get what you pay for, and you're paying for a great community to live in. And there's several other smaller communities. There's North Shore that has a pool. There's several, so that's what you're paying for. You're paying to keep everything manicured. Keep that in mind. If you're trying to calculate the exact monthly payment, these numbers might be spinning your head. But, take a look at that relocation guide that I have. See if that gives you some help. Hey, quick pause. If you are thinking about relocating to Flower Mound, I've put together a relocation guide for you that's going to make things a whole lot easier. Inside, you're going to find top neighborhoods, school info, commute details, and spots that the locals actually love to go to, shopping and restaurants. It's designed to help you feel not so overwhelmed, which relocation is always an overwhelming process. So grab your free copy. It's on the link below, and let's make your next move a smooth one. The best way to start doing this is once you get under contract. As soon as you get under contract, you have an option period. We've talked about that before. We're not going to talk about it in this video, but you have an option period. And during that time period, it would be good to get with your title company. They have what's called a buyer's closing net sheet that kind of gives you a general idea of when you're buying a home or when you're selling a home, to get an idea of what kind of expenses are going to happen and what your payment's going to look like on a monthly basis. Another thing that kind of sneaks up on people is it gets hot here in Texas, and I'm telling you, it's no joke. We didn't have a super hot summer, but there have been summers where it gets to be 100 degrees in May, and it does not cool off until October, sometimes November. And no joke, in July and August, your AC is going to be running 24/7, and for a 2,500 square foot home, which I have, the electric bill can be anywhere from $300 to $450 a month. And that's not uncommon, and you have to budget for these spikes. Maybe your August bank statement's going to hurt. I don't know. If you got a 5,000 square foot home, you could be looking at, $1,000 to $1,200 a month, depending on, we all have electronics now, right? TV's going, the air conditioning's going, the lights are on. Just something to think about, and something that a lot of people don't talk about. If you can, when you're buying a home, try to get some information from the seller if they can kind of give you an average of what they were paying for electricity. Some sellers do, some don't. All you can do is ask. What are they going to tell you? No. So is Flower Mound expensive? If you're looking for the cheapest place to live in Dallas-Fort Worth, honestly, this is not it. But what you are going to get is you're going to get a great police department, the Flower Mound Police Department. And I cannot tell you enough how wonderful this police department is out here. The schools, A-rated schools, the parks, that 20% tax exemption, look it up. You can look it up. It's on Google and everything else. Many of the clients I've worked with find the value in Flower Mound is actually better than some of the cheaper suburbs that you get for a lot less money. Even the ones that are supposed to be these great areas like Frisco and Plano, which they are, even the colonies busting out at the seams. But the value here in Flower Mound is, I believe, second to none. That's why I live here. That's why I invest here. And that's why I work here. All three. I got the trifecta going. So if you want to know about which neighborhoods specifically have the lowest tax rates and best HOA value, reach out to me. Let me know. Send me a message. My info's on the screen. I'm Chris Hooper, helping you make a smooth move to Flower Mound. And I look forward to seeing you on my next video.